Hello, everyone. Today is Saturday, the 16th of November, 2024. We are gathered here today for the 159th session of Mindfulness for Beginners in English, conducted by Nissarana Vanaya. I would like to warmly welcome Venerable Rohini for this session. And I would also like to welcome everyone who has logged in via Zoom and who's watching via Facebook live stream as well, and anyone who will be watching later. And our program will, as usual, commence with the in-session practice of mindfulness, followed by the talk on today's topic by Venerable Rohini. Finally, we will move on to the Q&A and any reports presented to Manu today that was sent to us will be presented to Manu today for her feedback. To begin the session, I will now invite Venerable Rohini to start the in-session practice of mindfulness. Over to you, Venerable.
Hello, everyone. I think today we are going to sit. So mindful sitting practice is going to be. So everybody, if you are ready for that, sit comfortably. And you can check your body. You can scan the body. If there's any tightened muscles or any stress, be aware and release your stress. Relax. Keep your hands in a balanced way, in a comfortable manner. You can close your eyes gently. Now you may feel your body in a sitting posture. If you are a good or the old practitioner, you might feel your breath. The in-breath and out-breath. Just relax and try to observe the in-breath and out-breath. Right now, if you can't see or if you can't catch the in-breath and out-breath, whatever the prominent feeling you feel right now, take it as an object to observe. It can be the belly rising and falling, or you might feel the thick or the tight or the roughness of the surface where you sit. Whatever the prominent feeling you can feel, take it as the object. Just watch it without any judgment. Even though you feel comfortable, don't judge it as comfortable, just watch it. If you are aware of your breath, observe it. In-breath as in-breath and out-breath as out-breath. You might hear the sounds. Still you can observe the breath or the primary object, whatever it is. There are many things can be running in the background, thoughts. You can hear my voice, but still you can observe your breath. Okay, everyone. I hope everybody had good sitting practice. Over to you, Sonali.
Thank you, Manu. Next on the agenda is the talk on today's topic. Today's topic is the illusory truth effect. So we will see what that all means. And I warmly welcome Venerable Manu again to start the talk on today's topic.
Thank you, Sonali. Hello, everyone. Actually, this topic is very fascinating concept, actually. So I am going to deal with two fascinating concepts. One is the illusory truth effect. The other one is mindfulness. So anyhow, we need to take both concepts together and need to discuss and need to find the way how can we cope with this illusory truth effect with the mindfulness. So this is our job to discuss or talk. So illusory truth effect is usually if we expand the concept, it says how repeated lies become accepted or become a truth. So if, for example, I would like to go back to the childhood. So in our childhood, everybody, if we want to memorize something, we repeat it. If we want to memorize a poem, if we want to memorize the gatha, or if we want to memorize any concept or any facts, so we repeat it several times, then we can keep it in mind. So that means the mind has some kind of ability to keep that. Whatever we have been perceived, we can keep it. So whatever we have perceived and keep is naturally we think that is true. So what is this about? Sometimes our brain is acting as a lazy thing. It has that kind of lazy action, if we say. What is happening, whatever the repeated, we take it or we perceive it, and then our perception take it as a true or right thing. What is happening in there, when the repeated action is happen, that repeated thing is embraced in the brain. So that embraced fact, we think it as a true. And in another way, that if we kept something or if we memorize something, and if there is anything or something related to that, that is completely maybe false. But we keep it because our brain is accepting it as a truth because we have that kind of idea already implanted. Already we perceived that idea. For example, if we think that horoscope is believable. So if I think the horoscope is readable and it is true, then whatever someone says something about that, we think it is true. So if we have already idea of something about or my thinking or my beliefs are there, and to certain extent, if someone is saying this different thing, but it is related to my ideas, my thinking, then naturally we believe it as a truth. So it is a kind of laziness in the brain, because the brain like to take the easiest path to accept, to process our thinking. So it always take the easiest path. So that is why when something is repeated, it is embraced in the brain, and that embrace something, whatever the embraced thing, we think it is as a truth. So in psychologically, it says mere exposure effect. And the other thing is repetition blur the lines between the fact and the fiction. The repetition blur the lines between fact and the fiction. That is also responsible for this illusionary effect. The power of repetition, we can say, for example, advertisement. If we take advertisement, so advertisement are repeat again and again in the radios, maybe in social media, in television, everywhere. So when that repetition is happen, that advertisement is embraced in our brain or in our mind. Whenever we went to supermarket for buying something, that advertisement come up, that brand come up, and naturally we go and buy that. Even though that brand or even though that advertisement said is not true. For example, if there is a cream or some kind of moisturizing cream, so if it says, okay, that if you use this moisturizing cream, you will get your skin get white or black. So something like that. If you believe it, if you hear it in many times, you believe it. Naturally, you believe it, and naturally, if you go to the supermarket and if you go for something else maybe, but if you see that brand, so naturally you have trend to buy it because you believe it as a truth. So that is the repetition, or that is the power of repetition. So that power of repetition has a strong way to shape what people believe. So people use this for political propaganda. So when they want to use, or when they want to keep the power, so they use this repetition. Also, people tend to think they have seen or heard many times as a truth. So we need to think, or we need to see, or we need to find what is behind this. If we can find it, if we can see it, so it is easy for us to understand. So when I look at this topic in the internet or Google, there were many facts came through. But so then I thought, oh, maybe that are also not right. If I read it again and again, if I read it in everywhere in the Google, then I will think it is truth, but it might be not truth. So in that sense also, we can't believe it. So anyway, when I look at the psychological mechanism behind this illusionary truth, there are several reasons. There are several reasons why repeated lies can seem true. So the illusory truth effect is a psychological phenomenon. It has a cognitive ease. What is the cognitive ease? Is information that is repeated is easier for the brain to process. This makes it feel more true. For example, if we see an advertisement for 5 times, maybe 10 times, then it is in brain, or it is in a memory. So whenever something related to that see or hear, the brain takes the easiest path to process that information. So that means cognitive ease is there. So brain like to get the easiest path. This results surprisingly low number. Actually, with 5, like a few as a 5 times is enough. If you hear an advertisement for 5 times, that is good enough to make as a truth. What is happening that affect our perception, and it believe unbelievable thing, even it believes. So that brain's laziness is the one way of describing what this shortest path, or taking the shortest path to process any information. The other thing is confirmation bias. Whatever the people believe, people tend to believe that anything matches to their thinking. Whatever they believe, like I said before, if we believe the horoscope, so then we like to believe anything related to that. So likewise, if I have a belief, if I have a kind of ideas, then I would like to believe whatever related to that. So that is also confirmation bias. And other thing is social proof. If the many people share a same thing, same fact or same information in the social media, many people share. If it says, okay, 1,000 people share this information, then most people like to believe it, although it is true, not true. So, but if we think, okay, a lot of people believe it, that means, okay, I can believe. So that kind of mental confirmation bias is there. And the other thing is that social confirmation also there. So if the people who I believe is a believable person, if that person is saying the lie, but still we believe. That is also something we need to look at. So we call it fake news. Sometimes we call it fake information. So that kind of news are bombarded with in a social media. So what is happening in the social media, we don't know what we need to believe, or we don't know what we need to trust, but still we believe, sometimes we trust. And the other thing is the advertisement. So like I said before, the advertisement has that ability because they are repeating all the time. They are repeating the same thing, and that make people to believe that is the best product, or that is the best brand. And all the catchphrases and the repeated advertisement and the familiarity of their product, all are confirmation bias. So all are affecting to our thinking pattern and our beliefs and our decisions. The impact of repeated lies. So that is also we need to think about. Usually for individuals, it can lead to wrong beliefs. It can lead to poor decisions. And as a society, it can create divisions and spread misinformation. So these are the facts, or these are the impact of these that lies that are not truth, but after the repetition, we believe as a truth. There are many examples even in the history. There are many examples in a public opinion to keep the power in safe, and modern misinformation also there. In social media, we can see many repetitions. The most affected one, all those are very common, and all those are we can see. We can put our right effort to see whether it is true or lie, and what is the most affected and what is the most illusory truth is there is a self. That is the most illusory truth. We believe there is a person and we believe there is a self. Think about that. Soon after the birth, any child, soon after the birth, the parents, relatives, and other people, they all says, okay, there is a you, and they are your parents. Here are your siblings. These are your belongings. This is your house. This is your cloth. They embrace the lie as a truth. They repeat it soon after anyone born. So this is the lie. Repeatedly we hear, repeatedly we see, repeatedly we feel. So there is a self. I am here and there are any other people other than me. So that is the most affected lie or repeated lie we are becoming, or we are believed as a truth. Just imagine, that is what Buddha said. So there's no self. But what is happened, although we don't want to believe, the people who are around us, people who are educated than us, maybe same colleagues, maybe parents, maybe some educated people, they all says, okay, there is a self. So that is what right from the beginning people said. People says there are people and there is myself and other people and there are relatives and there are friends, enemies, a lot of things related to myself and the self. There are a lot of things implanted in our brain, implanted in our mind, and it become a real truth that there is a self. That is the most affected lie for us. So what we are going to do to overcome this lie? So that is the most important question and the most important answer we need to find. So when that question is in the vicinity, or when that question is in our mind, the mindfulness come forward. That is how mindfulness come to our life. So if we want to see the real truth, see the truth behind the lie, we need to be mindful. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness can help counteract the effect of repeated lie. Maybe in a day-to-day repeated lie, in the social media, in the workplace, or any other places. But most importantly, if we can be mindful, if we are diligent to see the truth, then we need to be mindful. So mindfulness is the counteract effect. It gives the counteract effects. And if we are mindful, or if we are aware of the right moment or present moment without any judgment, then we can see the truth behind the lie. So also it has to see the things clearly. So if you are very keen on mindfulness practice, if you are diligent on mindfulness practice, if you are a practitioner or good mindfulness practitioner, you might already seen that the breath, when you observe the breath is not a one thing. So when you observe the in-breath has many tiny in-breaths. It has not a one single flow. It has a tiny bits of many dots, like dots. So it consists with thousands of in-breaths. And the out-breath is also consists with thousands of out-breaths. So that when you see yourself, when you see that truth by yourself, then you will find what is we believe, whatever we believe before as a one single breath or one single in-breath and one single out-breath, it is a lie. So likewise, if we can practice the mindfulness, or if we can practice the awareness, whatever the happening right now, we can see the truth. We can see the truth behind the lie. Usually mindfulness involves several key ideas. So with the mindfulness, you can recognize or resist repeated lies. For example, if you are observational awareness is practicing, or if you are being able to observe your thoughts and feelings without reacting or without having any judgment, then you will understand whatever you think is not right all the time. And whatever your feelings are, not the right feelings you want. So if you are mindful, if you observe your thoughts and feelings in judgmental way, not without any judgment, then you will find it. Also, if you pay attention to the present moment, if you pay attention to what is happening right now, then you can avoid the influence of past repetitions. For example, if you are a believer of a horoscope, that is a past repetition, so someone has told you, or somewhere you saw, repetition has happened, that you need to believe the horoscope, then it is there. But if you pay attention to the present moment, then you can avoid that influence of the past repetition. Okay, so now you are looking at right what is happening present moment, what is happening right now, then if your mind is giving attention to the thought that related to, okay, you need to look at the horoscope, you need to look at then if you are mindful, then you can avoid it. If you are not mindful, you will go with that thought if you follow the horoscope. If you are mindful, you can avoid that thought or avoid that past repetition. Also, if you want, you can if you can aware, if you are mindful enough, then you can be not reactive. The non-reactive or not to react immediately about your thoughts or about your feelings also help you to avoid the lies or truth behind the lies. How you can do that is you need to find the mindful practice by doing mindful walk, by doing mindful breathing, or most importantly, I would suggest that keeping the reflective journal. If you can write the journal, or if you can write the report, then you can find what you believe is not true. If you have a collection of reports, right from the beginning, how you start to be mindful, and then gradually when you improve the mindfulness practice, how it help and how it increase or how it improve or how it progress, then you can see the truth behind the lie. Because if you believe that there is a self, when you're mindful, if you have mindfulness report with you, and if you have collection of mindful report right from the beginning and the progress, then you will see, okay, I was believing and I had that belief of being myself, and compare with the myself, there are some others. Then you can realize with the mindfulness report but is it true or is it false? Is it true or is it lie? Is there a myself or is there a self, or if there is no self? So to find it or to keep it, the reflective journal is also valuable thing. Also important thing. So what I want to say, if you want to see the truth behind the lies or truth behind the repeated lies, you need to practice mindfulness. Because this, the repeated lies will harm both individuals and the society. In one way, in a worldly manner. Worldly manner, we can't understand what is fact and what is information and what is true and what is lie. So to be mindful, if you are mindful or being mindful, you can see the truth and the fact from the lie. And also, by practicing mindfulness, we can foster society. Foster society that value truth and the clarity. If you are mindful, if you are not mindful, you can't foster that. You can't foster yourself for the society. So to embrace the mindfulness, then we need to have that kind of repetition or repetitive practice. If you are not practicing again and again, then you can't be prove it. You can't prove yourself or prove to yourself that there is a lie or repetitive lies become the truth. For example, myself, or being a self, or having a self, or selfless versus self. So to find that, you need to have a repetitive practice. Daily you need to practice it. Otherwise, you can't find it. Because if you are practicing today and then the next week or after a month or so, then you can't find it. To find, especially to find the self. If there is a self or there is no self, then you need to have a repetitive practice. So in that sense, the repetition is worth to practice mindfulness. The repetition is need to practice mindfulness to find the truth behind the lie. What is the lie? The self, or myself, or there is a self, anatta. So if you need to find it, you need to have repetitive mindfulness practice. So repetition is the way to find the truth behind the lie. So truth behind the lie, the repetition lie, the repetitive lie. So repetitive lie, to overcome that repetitive lie, you need to have a repetitive practice or repetitive mindfulness practice. So that is the repetition is using. We use that repetition in both ways. If you want to do a lie in a truthful way, if you want to spread a lie in a truthful as a truth, then you have to repeat it. Also, if you want to break that lie, you need to have a repetitive action. You need to repeat your mindfulness practice again and again. So the repetitive practice or repetition is there in the both sides. One is to keep a lie as a truth. The other way, to see the truth behind the lie. So the repetition is there. So what we need to find to use the repetition in right way. To use the repetition in right way, we need to find where we need to put the repetition. So if we are listening, or if we are following, or if we are doing the repetition to prove, to put the lie in a truth, or to spread the lie as a truth, that is in a negative way. But if we are keeping the repetition to find the truth behind the lie, that is in a positive way. So repetition, the mindfulness is a positive way. Repetition, the lie, to make it as a truth, is the negative way. So the repetition is there, but how we use it is the important thing. So in summary, mindfulness helps us create a space between thought and the reaction, which can help combat the illusory truth effect that make us vulnerable to misinformation. So that is very important thing. In a world overflowing with information, much of it misleading. Being mindful can empower us to shift through what's real and what's not. It gives us the tools to challenge illusions in our reasoning and stay grounded in reality. So that is a scientific finding by Kemlani. So that is the real truth. That is the combining truth. So whatever we repeat, we should repeat to find the truth behind lie, not to make the lie as a truth. So in that, keep in that mind and repeat your practice, repeat the mindfulness practice to overcome the lie of being self. So that is the ultimate goal. If you want to find the truth, whether there is a self or not, then you need to practice again and again. Repetitive practice is needed to overcome that lie and see yourself, if there is a self or if there is no self. So in saying that, please practice mindfulness again and again daily, at least 15 minutes or half an hour or 1 hour. Whenever possible, extended the time. Whenever possible, extended a quality of the time. So doing that, we can overcome the truth behind the lie of self. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Over to you, Sonali.
Hello, everyone. My understanding is that Sonali is hosting, but in her absence, yes, I will take over. Thanks, Rajita, for confirming that. Thank you, Venerable Vanaya, for that very timely, very important talk of ways of practically applying our mindfulness practice in trying to understand the information presented to us on a daily basis in our day-to-day lives. I certainly took a lot of tips from that. I'm sure all of you must have found that helpful too. I actually have some mindfulness reports to share. There's a couple of reports from today. Venerable Manuel, I will go ahead and start reading them with your permission. Report
Yes,
number.
Dhamma.
Yes, I will go ahead. Thank you. So report number 1. Mindful walking. Walked outdoors with shoes on. Awareness naturally was on feet movements at the beginning. Upper body tilted back, then going down the hill. Attention moved to feet movements again, then surface became even. Sometimes thoughts would come and go without much storytelling. Knew this when awareness returned to feet movements and body weight shifting again. Noted chilly air touching the face and hands. Walked for 40 minutes. Mindful sitting. Sat on the cushion in a comfortable position. Breath noted near nostrils where the in-breath was cooler and the out-breath warmer. Mind remained with the rhythm of breath until awareness had moved to pressure in lower body. The breath had become subtle. Slight rise and fall action of stomach felt. Calmness in mind and body. Prominent breath arose again. Familiar boredom noted. Breath subtle again. Sat for 50 minutes. Mindfulness during the day. It is interesting to notice that more regularly now, the attention moves to different body postures during work and activities of household chores. It feels like the mind is being influenced by the mindfulness practice. At the beginning of practice, mind was not interested in noticing body postures or movement. In recent times, there are more moments of such awareness and recognition of different emotions, and the root cause of these much quicker. When there is liking or disliking in mind also, there are more moments of noticing the reason for it, like seeing the mechanisms of mind. It is fascinating. Dear Manu, looking forward to your valuable feedback. Much merit to you. Thero Saranai. End of report 1.
Yeah, according to the report, it is interesting actually, because the walking and sitting is really tally with each other, because the walking, the feet, thoughts, body weight movement, all the qualities of the walk is observed. And when after that walking, when the sitting has happened, the in-breath and out-breath is very subtle. And the familiar boredom is there. That is all are natural, because when there is nothing to observe, or when there is nothing to fascinated, then the boredom is there. So that is how if there is anything neutral, then the boredom is there. If there is anything that can caught our eyes or ears or anything, then there's no boredom. Then we are happy. We have that kind of something to enjoy. So when there is nothing, then the boredom is there. So when the boredom is there, your mind is, anybody mind is very clear, very clean. It is not, it is like if there is no ripples in the water, you can see through. If there is ripples, if the wind or boat or whatever the obstacle is on the river, on the lake, then the ripples are having ripples. When the ripples are there, you can't see through. So then it is not clear. So in here, when the boredom is there, there's no ripples. If you have something thoughts, or if you have something to see, something to look at, or something to hear, then the ripples are there. When the ripples are there, when there is many things happening in the mind, then you can't see the things. But here, when the mind is clear, there's no ripples, no thoughts, no in-breath and out-breath, or very subtle. And when that happens, no ripples, no obstacles, then you can see. That walking and sitting practice, that experience, that the subtle or clear mind extend into the daily life. that shows in this report. So she can see the likes and dislikes, and then she can see the mechanism of the mind, how it comes and how it goes. So that is how Loku Swamin Wahanse always says, okay, when you practice the walking and the sitting, those are the most way of practicing mindfulness or beginning of mindfulness practice, that leads to a very good foundation to the practice. With that foundation, you can build a very big building. That is what is happening here. That is what say in this report. So she is building a big, or she or he is building a big building upon that good foundation. What is the good foundation? Walking and sitting. So it is very nice to hear that report. Please carry on. Please do the same. And until you see the truth behind the lie.
Thank you, Manu. I will now move on to report number 2, mindfulness during the day. Dear Manu, this week I have closely observed the friction in the mind related to handing in my resignation at work, mostly related to fear of the unknown, anxiety, and the feeling of relief not having to work the countless hours of planning lessons. Just observe without judgment the good and the bad. This week had to face a lot of criticism at work. There were times of great mindfulness where I could observe subtle sensations of the body during these criticisms. But there were times when the mind was trying to spin stories, caught them and released, and mind came back to silence. Came home really tired one day from work, where there could have been an exchange of words with a family member, but observe the anger arising and ceasing instead. Sometimes it feels like one foot is swimming against the current and the other is pulling to the shore. Feels like half of the practice is knowing there is still a lot of work to do, but what the mind is clinging on to, but being able to let go of them. I hope I'm still on the bus, Manu. Within brackets, as in your words. I think this refers to one of the sayings that Bhante says. I hope I'm still on the bus. End of report number 2, whenever Manu.
Can you repeat the last sentence?
Sure. Feels like half of the practice is knowing there is still a lot of work to do. Know what the mind is clinging on to, but being unable to let go of them. I hope I am still on the bus.
Okay. Yeah, still on the bus. Yes. Yes, of course. Yes. And only one thing I just noticed, and I just wanted to, not to criticize, just to explain. But when we have a destination or target, it is good in a way, but when we think, okay, there's lot to do, or there's many things I need to be successful, or something like that, it is a kind of obstacles to the path, because one at a time, that done well. That is our Loku Swamin Wahanse's very famous wording. One at a time, that done well. So if we have keeping kind of idea that, okay, I have a lot to do, or I have a target, then we have kind of, limiting. It is not open enough. The mind is not open enough to right movement. If we are right now, if we are open enough, then we don't need to bother about what is next. If we have bother about the next thing or the future, or I have a lot to do, then we are limiting our access. We are limiting the possibilities. We are limiting the potential. Instead, okay, right now I am very aware of what is happening. I know the fiction in mind. I know the fear of unknown. I know I am having some arguments or some thoughts, goods and bads, and the critics and everything I know. That is the most important thing. That awareness is there. That means what she or he can do is doing. So that satisfaction should be there. The satisfaction give you a positive mind. Rather than thinking, okay, there's a lot of things happening. Yes, not only yourself, everybody is facing lot of things every day, every moment. That is the life. Even Buddha has to face. So everybody has to face, but one thing at a time, and that done well is the best. Without thinking about what next. Without thinking how far I have to go. What will be the next obstacle? So those are the restricted mind, or those are the obstacles produced by mind. Overthinking. Thinking of how many yards I have to go. How many obstacles will be there tomorrow or next few days or until I go to the end of the path. Who knows? We don't need to bother about it. So don't be bothered about those things. Just be mindful, whatever happening right now, and face to it. Without having that kind of expectation and without having any frustration about the past is the mindfulness, and is the only path to the liberation. It is the only path to the happiness. So only that thing I wanted to tell about that report. That's all. Please keep on the practice in the same way. Good report. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. And thank you to everyone who submitted their reports. Of course, the discussions are always very useful and many tips for us to take to improve our mindfulness practice. It is now the opportunity for anyone present today to ask any questions or make any comments. So if you do have anything to say, please raise your Zoom hand and we will invite you to unmute yourself. I can't see any Zoom hands raised, Manuel. So
Good.
looks like we have no queries for today. Yes, just to make a comment myself, I mean, listening to the reports and what you were saying about boredom and boredom causing clarity in the mind. In my day-to-day life, I often hear this from my children a lot, especially my son. Sometimes I think people may identify with this. We are all in an era where we use a lot of screens, TV, phone, and iPads. And in the case of children, sometimes they play video games and things. So I have to remind my son, especially from time to time, to maybe take a break from these screens. And a very common thing he says is, I am bored. And I say it's okay. It's good for you to be bored. It's good. I've heard that it's good for your creativity to be bored. And is that where the creativity comes from? When you have clarity of mind, just something that crossed my mind when you mentioned about boredom.
Yeah, boredom is the most clear time of the mind.
Mm.
Not many wavering, not many waves, or not many ripples. Very clear.
Yeah.
So that is, the children or most people doesn't like it.
It's a great analogy, actually. Thank you for that. The ripples effect. I might. I think we're so used to being entertained and being stimulated all the time. I think with children, especially nowadays. I mean, what you mentioned about advertisements and things, we see it day in, day out all the time. Thank you, Manu. That was very useful and very clear. I think we've got a raised hand. Rajika, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Sarai Manio, thank you for the opportunity, Anupama. It's not actually the question, Manio. When I didn't have time to listen throughout the sermon and the Q&A, but on and off I heard few things, so I thought of making these two comments. First one is about the boredom, as Anupama said. My son's always complaining about boredom. So Lukuswaminasa said to him the master of boredom, because when we did the Satipasana, at the end of every his mindful report, he said, I feel bored. So I thought of adding that comment when I heard Anupama's the feedback. The other thing, Manu, I thought of when Manu was talking about that the advertisement, like most repeated words, we believe as truth. When I heard that, recently I'm listening to what we call that, the influential talks and the podcast kind of thing. One thing that resonated with me is how we talk to ourselves. Like if we keep talking to ourselves, apparently with the negative vibes, if we keep telling oneself like you're not good enough, you can't do this, actually that our mind's going to believe that, apparently. And one of those podcasts, I heard a very inspiring story. One person, something happened to his spine, so he was lying down on the bed, and he got to listen to this talk about like believing in yourself and positive self-talk. Because he doesn't have anything to do, he just started to practice that every day, morning and afternoon. He just tried to not even believing, but he just started tell himself like, I'm good enough, my health is perfectly good. And so then it kind of became his habit. Even without effort, it just automatically came apparently to his mind. And doctors even recommended he can't walk, he can't run, or those sort of things. But I think unexpected time he fully recovered, and he's doing his acting career he has done before the incident happened, but he came back to his career after very short period of time, apparently. He might go through all the other medical process as well, but when I listened to that podcast, the importance of the mind and the belief in yourself and the repetitive talk to yourself, it's very important, apparently. So when Manu talk about that advertisement, and when we hear the repetition of the ads, we kind of going to believe that. I thought to add that things I learned recently, Manu. Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, that's a good adding, actually. That is what we are using. So when we do metta meditation, what we do, we practice repetitively the metta or kindness or the compassion. So we embrace the idea in our brain, in our mind. So whatever happened, then the mind always produce that kind of thoughts, the metta. Mm-hmm. What are the thoughts related to metta? So that is what we are using actually. The Buddhism or all religions use that. The exception in Buddhism is the insight meditation. So what we are doing here, observing whatever happened right now, is not like that. So the repetition is there in another way, in another dimension. So what Rajika said is the positive thinking and the positive vibrations and everything we can put in a hakisanya. The I can do this. So that is a good way of training the mind. But like I said before, the truth behind the lie, to find the truth behind the lie, we need to repetitively do the mindfulness. Whatever is happening right now, we need to look at it. We need to observe it. We need to aware what is happening right now. So that is completely different to the other repetition. So that is what we need to find. The repetition is there in the both side, but the one is making the truth behind the lie. The other one is like a condition in the mind. So these are the two differences between two repetitions. Thank you, Rajika.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for the opportunity. Thank you.
So that was the comment from Rajika. Anyone else in the audience who would like to say something or ask a question before we wrap up the session for today? I don't see any
one
more
thing,
hands up.
While Rajika is there's a meeting in 24th of November, I think. So,
Yes.
if possible, please join to that.
Yes,
Everyone,
ma'am. Yes, Loku Swamin Wahanse sent me the invitation and Chaturamalli also sent me the invitation. But the thing is, there's no Zoom details in there. So I requested, because the in person, they're sending first, I think. I asked Chaturamalli and I mentioned Loku Swamin Wahanse as well, if they can share the leaflet with the Zoom details, we can share with the international participants, so then we all can join. So I will share the leaflet with our group chat, so then all our facilitators can join, and we can share with the other participants as well, I guess, so then they also can come and give their ideas to the future development of Satipasala, I guess. Thank you very much for reminding that, Vanaya.
Yeah, they will give the Zoom details soon, I think. I hope.
Thank you, Manu. Any other comments? Or I think Tarindu, did you have something to say? Or
No, I saw Nihanta trying to talk, like she unmuted, but then because we started the discussion about the meeting, she muted again. So
Gihanta?
Gihanta or Gihanta.
Yeah. If you have any comments, please do unmute yourself and speak. No, I think he's not in the meeting at the moment. So yeah, that's fine. Anyway, thank you everybody for a really fruitful session as usual today. And much merits and gratitude to Venerable Rohini for your advice and guidance as always. Also, I would like to thank the participants, those who wrote reports, and of course the facilitators behind the scenes who are working hard to make these sessions happen. And last but not least, our Loku Hamduru, Venerable Dhamma Thero, for his visionary guidance in this whole process. Thank you. And have a mindful and good week. See you next time.